Okay, everybody, welcome to Cyber Bulls. So we've got a number of great topics today. We're going to start off with the Roadster. Elon Musk announced the Roadster, and the Cybertruck is being marketed by all these celebrities. So is there a halo effect? Let's start with you, Jeff. Tell us what you're thinking about what's happening with these incredible products that Tesla continues to roll out.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it's definitely a hit with celebrities. It's off and running, and in terms of the halo effect, I think it's going to take time to play out. We don't know. It's not in full supply yet. It's not in every store. There's a couple that ship to the Chicago area, for example, and it stays in a store for a week or two, and then it moves to another location. Like there's not enough to even put in each location. But I would say in terms of like Hollywood, it's definitely sinking in. In terms of professional athletes, it's definitely sinking in. We're seeing it all over X. We're seeing it all over popular, societal magazines as well that are in grocery stores and things like that. So it's definitely setting in. It even convinced Ross to get back off the sidelines from being a bear and buy a Cybertruck when I thought everybody was buying a Rivian.
The company and the product. Don't look at the quarterly stock movement.
As a trader, I got to take some off the table and wait for a better price.
A very realistic bull, questioning certain decisions.
The rational bull. I enjoy listening to bears.
Looking for the red flags. You're supposed to react.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, this is your marketing, right? Let me go ahead and play Kim Kardashian. You listen to all the cameras. I mean, she's getting a Starbucks.
Really short.
She is.
She's Armenian.
Look at that rear wheel steer.
I mean, here we are showing this little clip of a person getting Starbucks.
And I told earlier today somebody on X. Can you imagine Friday and Saturday evening at Nobu in Los Angeles or in Malibu, the parking lot? All these Cybertrucks from all these celebrities, and then they have to find which one is theirs. It's gonna be so much fun.
Yeah. How much longer do you think this will last? I mean, obviously, it's a.
Oh wow, it's still rare, so a while. This will last
How long
a while.
how long did the X last, or the S in the beginning?
Yeah, it's gonna last a while. I mean, it's throughout the year. It's going to be constrained. And if you think about it, again, Chicago is just getting their first customer deliveries. It's a major city, by the way, in the United States. It's getting its first deliveries. I think New York just got their first delivery. So this is going to go for a bit.
And when are you going to get yours, Jeff?
I don't know. Tesla's got to tell us that, but I don't. There's no special favors, even though I'm a multi-time customer. There's no special favors here, so I have to wait in line like everyone. I'm no Kim Kardashian or Justin Bieber.
You're much better.
I did order the Cyber Beast, so I'm trying to waste the most amount of money possible and upfront in the beginning.
Thank you for your service.
I'm just maximizing that as much as possible, but it's not a waste. So it's
shareholders appreciate.
I think there's real value, although maybe a year from now it'll be different.
Well, there was an auction that Matthew showed on screen, and they sold a Cybertruck for $230,000, something like that.
Who sold? $245,000. Who sold? Who sold the thing?
But who bought? Like this thing's going to depreciate immediately.
No, we know who bought. That is in South Florida, the Porsche dealership.
Dealer.
Yeah, but dealership. But he's going to sell it. He's going to sell it for more money. Don't you worry. Yeah. He's going to sell it. I'm not worried about him. I'm more worried about the seller because he breached the contract, right? The first contract is that you're not allowed to sell in the first year.
Is that right?
Yeah, but
Didn't they get rid of that? I thought they got rid of that. No?
No.
I think they got rid of it. Alexandra, they got rid of it.
Did they?
I thought that was a penalty.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it's still in there, and it's $50K. And if you think about it, some rich person in Miami said, "Hey, get me the truck. I don't care about the cost," and no one cares. They're just gonna pay whatever. We had a person in a space either last night or the night before who's got like 10 vehicles, and they they were asking all the right questions, and like, okay, I'm gonna go put it in order. I'm like, okay, it's going to take you 3 years for you to get yours. So, the only way to do it is to pay the premium.
Okay. All right. So a question I want to ask you guys, I'll share more of what happened with the Roadster, the Elon announcement of that. But, we talked about celebrity marketing. What about the halo effect? Why is Tesla doing the Roadster? Is there a halo effect with the Cybertruck? Meaning to say that because people see this, the excitement, that it positions Tesla to be such the, fastest car in the world, the greatest technology. Are they going to buy more Teslas? And is it going to show up? Is it going to be significant? Do you want to start, Alexandra?
Sure. I don't believe much in the halo effect. I don't think somebody wants the Roadster and then buys the 3 Performance, right? I mean, maybe there are people who buy the 3 Performance and would love the Roadster, but I don't think the other way around. But it really is perfect for the image. It's important to have some, cars that are so extraordinary, like the S was, like the Cybertruck is now, and like the Roadster is going to be, that it just blows away the whole competition. The fact that we have now seen in space of a week, Lady Gaga, Kim Kardashian, Justin Bieber, I don't know the names of all the rappers, all, drive the Cybertruck is a landmark in people's memory. This is a Cybertruck. One thing I posted this morning, which was hilarious, the US consulate in Toronto, so this is the US embassy, went to the Canadian Auto Show and obviously went to the Ford and GM stand and did a nice text that how nice it was to see the representatives from Ford and GM, and the picture was a Cybertruck. So, this is, that's hilarious, but there's no doubt in my mind that this is now engraved in the history of the United States. When you will go up to the 10 most iconic cars, the Cybertruck will be there, and the Roadster will be there as well. And they're going to eat into Ferraris and Lamborghinis market with the Roadster, which is a good thing because those cars are horrendously expensive, much too expensive for what they're worth. I mean, I'm not going to fund any Ferrari drivers, but the premium that you pay for them is just not warranted. And that will become very clear once the Roadster is on the road. So what he's doing again is just completely dismantling and disrupting a market segment. He has done that for the truck industry now. He's doing it for the very high end again. And I'm very happy about it. I think this is great. This is exactly what they should do.
And yet no halo effect. I'm going to counter that, but let's start with you. Christian, I know you also think no halo effect.
Well, I don't think it's a halo effect to buy threes and Ys. I think that's right. I think you can get an excitement factor, absolutely, and you can get a buzz around certain things. But I think ultimately, it's got to get back down to the fundamentals of the business. And the main thing is to get that next generation car out, more affordable to the masses. So Roadster's nice. It brings a lot of excitement, technology, but they're not going to sell many of them. So if you're looking at it from a financial and a strategic, that's going to be a lot of headspace, a lot of Tesla engineers working on that for very little benefit. Yeah, they'll make a good profit margin on it, but they're not going to sell a lot because people aren't going to buy $200,000 supercars. There's not a lot of people to buy that. Some will. But I think it's great for the brand. I think it reinvigorates excitement, which is good for the stock to get excitement, show off the engineering talent. But I think from an actual business fundamental and a numbers game, it's a drop in. It's less than a drop in the bucket.
Yeah, I think this is where we're crossing each other, because why would Tesla do a Roadster? Why would BYD just announce a supercar for $250,000? They just did that a few days ago. Companies do this because there's a halo effect. These are hero products. And what you both said was it impacts the brand. So yes, it's not this thing where although there is actual data to show that people today, as they see the Cybertruck, the number of them going to the Tesla service centers, Tesla retail stores, showrooms, actually then buying Model Y13 is apparently happening. But the reason they're doing it is the brand, and the brand is what sells more cars. I mean, that's why you're doing this, right? This is like Tesla's being positioned as that's why Tesla wants to be known as the fastest car, and they'll keep leapfrogging in McLaren whenever they can. Xander, we haven't had you yet. What's your thinking about this?
Yeah, I think about, like, the company was started with a Roadster. Elon said it was dessert, and it's been like 7.5 years or something like that. So I think the brand cachet is really what it's about. If you look at what's happening, what we just discussed with Cybertruck, the same thing happens with a levitating Roadster. Like the SpaceX package, they can literally charge whatever they want. Where else will you be able to find a car that can accelerate, with cold gas thrusters, and then if he said previously, if that is maintained, on the corners and help you, through turns, like what does it even look like? Is it I don't mean physically, but it's not even a car. It's this other thing. So I think that like that impact brings attention to the brand. People go, wow, I can't afford that. But is there anything that Tesla makes that, I can afford? And so I think it is in that regard, that's how I define Halo, is that it brings it to the brand, not to the earnings.
I'm going to show off the Roadster. But before that, Jeff, I'm going to ask you the question. Like one of the reasons why companies do this is create a kind of the high-end product is because you can charge more, but then it's the technology that they're developing that they can then test and roll down to other cars. So let's share this. This is what Elon just tweeted out 2 days ago. Tonight, we radically increased the design goals for the new Tesla Roadster. There will never be another car like this, if you could even call it a car, right? Potentially redefining what this is. It's a collaboration between Tesla and SpaceX. So it's likely going to be thrusters or some other reason why they collaborated with SpaceX. The design is complete and unveiled end of this year, aiming to ship it next year. I think it has a shot at being the most mind-blowing product demo of all time. And then John from Tesla Owner Silicon Valley, can it fly a little? Excited eyes. And then Sawyer, 0 to 60 miles about a second. Is that the fastest? And then he said 0 to 60 miles per hour less than a second. And that is the least interesting part. So Jeff, why don't you talk about the question I asked? And then I've got another one to ask you guys too. But in the meantime, I'll go and play some videos.
Yeah, the first thing I'd like to say is for decades, EVs have been discussed or thought about in terms of compromises. If you're going to get an EV, you can get an EV, but in the beginning it was range, but these things look like kind of like plastic things, or like it was always fraught with compromises, and therefore the adoption rate, it always stalled until the Model S came out and started changing that gradually, and then eventually the Model 3 into the Model Y. And what Tesla has done at each point in time is, okay, making the Model S, it's a family sedan, it seats 5, maybe even 7. Making a family sedan that, is comfortable, but can also go super fast. And then you think about the Cybertruck and saying, well, nobody's built a truck, because struggling with that mass, struggling with towing, struggling with the physics of doing a truck, Tesla completely reinvents what that category is. We don't even know if Cybertruck's even selling as a truck. It's more of selling it maybe across multiple categories, to be honest with you. And now you've got the supercar category. Again, in every instance, Tesla wants to say, look, there are no compromises owning an EV. You can get everything you want, and you can actually get the best performance in the world through an EV. I think that's the message that they're sending. In terms of carrying tech down, the Cybertruck's going to be a great example of that, because at low speeds and low manufacturing velocities, they've been able to work and field also the controlled rollout in the field. This is a very slow rollout in the field, and part of that is you're putting this new 48-volt architecture out there, and they're going to be able to work out the kinks, both from a usability perspective with consumers and just how stable is it, how well is it functioning, right? What's its uptime with consumers, and then all the way back into the factory, debugging it through the factory, debugging it through the supply base, and they're going to do it on a ramp that they're doing, a couple thousand a month maybe now eventually. And that's how you want to debug these brand new game-changing, technologies when you introduce them. You don't want to introduce them on the 3 or Y-type volume or the compact. So there is a little bit of this going on where they're going to take new tech at the higher tier products and bring it down. I'm not sure what would come from the Roadster per se, but in terms of Cybertruck, it's pretty clear.
That's levitation. What do you mean? It's pretty obvious. The cars are all levitated.
We'll see. I want to see them get this thing built, get it out there. I'd also like to look at the Porsche Taycan numbers, because I actually think, if you look at the ASP of that product, it's not cheap. And so where's Roadster going to fall? And maybe it's going to be more than 5 to 10K. I mean, Taycan's doing a pretty
5
decent
to 10.
volume clip.
500? What?
No. Taycan's doing pretty decent volumes. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me. Units.
5 to 10K units. Gotcha.
No. What I'm saying is there's some people that are talking about 5 to 10K for the Roadster, and I can see why. It's a $200,000 plus car, but maybe it could be higher, right? And what would those numbers need to be for this to be actually a fairly compelling business case? But right now, I think quite honestly, the focus needs to be on getting the compact out. I don't know if this is necessarily draining from that. I think these are completely different teams, but I've heard some people say like, oh, you're building a small volume car. It's not a big issue. It is a big issue. You have to do everything. You have to design every component. You have to release it. You have to qualify it. You've got to test it. You've got to test it. And you still have to do everything. So whether it's 5K, a year or 500K a year, yes, there's some added complexities involved with the volume, but you still have to do a whole heck of a lot to get this car out.
Especially after all he promised now, right? I mean, after these tweets, we're really waiting for it.
Yes.
Jeff, is it possible?
Go ahead.
Is it possible that the compact is just done, all of the stuff that you're talking about, and now they've moved on?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's different stages of development. So it was interesting in the tweets or the post on the Roadster. It says it was kind of, people took it both ways. Like the design's done. I took it as we just radically changed. We just sat around the table and radically changed the targets for the product. The design will be done and revealed by the end of the year. So there's different things in design. Okay. There is industrial design. That's the Franz world. Okay. And and that's the outside of the vehicle. And that's also from an interior perspective, that's the handshake with engineering of how the vehicle is going to be roughly packaged. And then there's the engineering design work, which is where they take that industrial design and then they work on it and do initial tooling release on the product. That in that world, that's called initial design lock. That's the thing we want to listen for and hear. We want to hear that on the compact. We want to hear that on Optimus, because when you hear that to me, that starts a 9 to 15 month clock, probably closer to 12 to 15 month clock for them to take initial tooling, iterate, make small changes, because you're not really design locked. You've locked the larger tooling, you've locked kind of the confines of the design, but you've got to tweak it and get it dimensionally correct. And then you've got locked for production, which is where Cybertruck really got to and later in the fall. And that's when your real production's really imminent. But we want to hear that the design, like we heard in May of 2022, I believe, Elon was interviewed and he said the Cybertruck is now design locked. And for me, that set a clock off. Okay, this thing's probably ramping in the third or fourth quarter of the following year. So I don't think the answer, I mean, Xander, I don't think they're done on that.
No,
I think
on the Roadster or the compact?
On the compact, it's possible. I mean, it's February. I've often said it was going to get done in the first 4 months of this year. So who knows? Maybe it's the first 2 months, 4 or 6 months of this year. But I think for the compact, if they send RFQs out for suppliers to start building in the middle part of next year, you'd like to think that they've released initial designs to them, and now they have to release more detailed designs. So you'd like to think that maybe they're getting close to design lock. But just because you're design locked on compact, the work is there's still a tremendous amount of work in front of them to take that as that initial design lock and get it to a final.
Yeah, I initially took that post from Elon as we're done with the design and unveiled by the end of the year. But then someone, I think it was Ryan from Kilowatts, mentioned that look at it the other way, that it's design and rolled out or announced at the end of the year.
I just showed it to you guys. He clearly said production design's complete and unveil end of year.
But link the two statements together. When you read it back again with that idea in your head, now I agree with what Jeff is saying. So
I can't understand what you're saying. Production design complete and unveil end of year. Aiming to ship next year.
Design.
He didn't say production design is complete.
Right. Production design complete and unveiled end of the year.
Exactly.
What?
Anyway, don't worry about it. We're mincing words.
All
And
right,
I don't have to
Herbert's the
remind
slow one.
all of you guys. Elon says
I'm
a lot
slow.
of things. It could be
Production
late.
design
This is
complete and
aspirational.
unveil.
It doesn't mean it's actually going to happen.
Oh,
You know.
production design will be complete and unveil end of year. That's what you're saying. Comma could be here.
Right.
Production design, comma, complete and unveil end of year.
We got-
Okay. I got it. I caught up, guys. A little slow.
English lesson over. Moving on.
Okay.
Next topic.
So very, very interesting and exciting, right? So they launched the Cybertruck. They had the Model 3 Highland. They've got the Roadster on its way. They've announced that Gigafactory Mexico is now going to be construction going to start in March 3rd. We're talking like
Did
Now.
Tesla announce that, or is that
Monday. It's Monday.
Is that definite?
it was the governor of Nuevo Leon who said it, but if you're going to say
Tesla's
construction's
not
going to
definite.
start March 3rd, that's
We'll see.
that's
We'll see.
that's no
That's
longer
specific, huh?
hearsay.
Okay.
It's a real deal. So many things have been happening, but let's talk about Tesla's business. Which of the businesses are you most excited for this year? Let's talk about this year. So I just announced 3 big things that just happened. Who wants to start with what you're thinking is going to be the big deal
For this year, for 2024, energy.
Yeah. Why?
Energy. Well, because there's already so much going on that has not been accounted for financially, and that will be accounted for in the course of this year as the delivered megapacks get on the grid. So there is already a huge chunk of money provisioned for that, and there's so much more going on. So they're still selling megapacks. I mean, in the megapack segment, they have competitors, but the market is just so huge that I don't see them, losing steam and losing margin for that. Very steady 20-25% margin business. And I think this is going to carry us very well to the next wave until the $25,000 car.
Okay, Christian?
I think the most important business is the most obvious business, selling threes and Ys. That is the generator of the company. And if you want to have a great year, sell as many as you can and make as much money as you can. It doesn't sound sexy, but that's what needs to be done. They need to grow volumes as much as they can and sell those cars. That's the money maker, and everything else gets funded from that. But I think it's unit volume on threes and Ys. They need to, keep up with that and try to make as much margin as they can in the short term to get to all the exciting stuff in the outer years.
Okay, and then Xander?
Oh, sorry. I was falling asleep there. FSD, to me, it's just like the cars are going to take care of themselves. Our earnings, that's all going to work itself out. I shared that your chart from the Hans show. That's the logarithmic scale for the stock and how it goes sideways, and then there's a big leg up across a year, and then it goes sideways, and then a big leg up across a year, and now we're in this this section. To me, the only conclusion is it goes up. So what's gonna catalyze that? For me, it's just really FSD and what's happening in V12.
Yeah, Jeff?
We're done talking about Cybertruck. I can take my angular glasses off.
It's up to you.
Love those glasses. Good.
Yeah, no, I think auto is going to have a little bit of a surprise. First off, I agree with a lot of the statements. I think energy is important. I think energy is going to ramp up, and we're seeing it physically now. It's just lumpy in terms of recognition. But I'd like to see them, stabilize gross margins, and they may be getting very close to doing that. Now, there's a lot of rumors of, a big, or reductions in, Q1 volumes. Who knows what's going to happen? Who knows if they've really gotten rid of the delivery wave? We'll see.
Certainly not a guy in a basement in the UK.
Yeah. I mean, all I'll say is, there's conflicting data points about how Q1 is going to go, but obviously they need to get volume to maintain this COG story, and so forth. But to answer your question, Herbert, I'm most excited about them actually stabilizing auto gross margins, growing gross margins in the energy business, because I think these businesses are going to fund, autonomy. They're going to fund all the network infrastructure work that the company's doing. So I think it's critical. I don't think anything else is going to print or do anything meaningful unless we get an FSD breakthrough, as Xander said.
Okay. What's interesting is that every single one of us, except two of you guys, answered differently, right? So you've got Alexandra saying it's energy, you got Xander saying it's FSD, and you've got Christian and if I can lump you together, it's Jeff and Christian are saying it's the cars and it's about the gross margins for the cars. Jeff says it's also gross margins for energy. I think it's the bot. Why is it the bot?
This
So I
year?
know this year.
Well,
This year. Okay, let me explain. I mean, obviously, we've got
I have my
Elon
bot
saying
T-shirt
that
on.
Elon said that the
Put the
bot's
bot
going to
glasses
be
on now.
shipped next year. Some number of human Optimus shipped next year. So that's where we're all thinking it's going to be next year. But every single week, what is it now? It's now February 29th. It's Leap Day today. It's the last 2 months. In the last 2 months, every single week, at least 2 demos have been dropping from all the different bot companies, and they're all outdoing each other. Just this week, just a few days ago, you had Digit showing you a demo where their Agility's the company, their Digit humanoid robot has now worked for 7.5 hours straight in a factory, in a client site. Then you've got the next one was I'm getting mixed up. Sanctuary dropped the demo just yesterday, and they showed that their bot, although just torso up, is able to maneuver both hands, block sorting at human speed. This is both of these are first kind of drops that this can now do human speed. So every single company is dropping something every single week, and it's only February, and it's just crazy how many of that has happened. We just had an official announcement this morning from Figure saying they raised $675 million at $2.6 billion valuation. So why is it that so many of the institutional investors and some of our good friends are telling us that we cannot add any value of bots to Tesla today? Because until I see them selling it, until I actually see them have customers, until I actually see them having a revenue stream, there's no value at all. Here you have a company who's not selling any bots at all, 2.6 billion. And they're not the only ones. There's a lot of other bot companies that are going to announce the same kind of amount of partnerships and money. This isn't a race. What Figure's done, though, is they partner with OpenAI, and they're creating together this partnership of creating the AI and end-to-end neural networks. You've got Microsoft, who's going to be also giving them the Azure data center. You've got NVIDIA that's partnered with them, and you've got Amazon or Jeff Bezos specifically investing in this as well. So there's going to be a use for this. Microsoft, OpenAI, NVIDIA, Jeff Bezos, and these others as well. So this ability to create these money and this commercial deployment, there's more information they haven't shared, but this is fast and furious. This is just one humanoid robot company. There's going to be matter. And every single week, you actually even saw Tesla themselves drop demos left, right, and center, right? They're continuing to do this. They just dropped the demo last week where Optimus Gen 2 is now walking around the lab. What's unique about that one is that it's now finally everything is end-to-end neural net. Previously, they had said that the torso, the sort of the legs and the bipedal walking wasn't yet end-to-end. But you can see the evolution of the previous demo they dropped when the Optimus wasn't wearing any, I call it armor, right? They were just walking around naked. So you can see that this is fast and furious. So
okay, let me answer to that.
Yeah,
well, let me answer to that why they don't see it. First of all, if they would see it and if they would value the Tesla bot at the level of the Figure bot, it would be 2 billion. 2 billion for a company that's already 600 billion, that's 0.3%. So acknowledging that there is a bot and that it has this same potential than the Figure bot wouldn't move the needle at all for the Tesla stock price at the moment, right? They are not extrapolating. I mean, to go back to my good friend in the basement in the UK, those bots don't have a VIN number, right? So, and if they don't have a VIN number, they're not accounted for. So, and then you have the analysts that listen to the good friend in the basement, and then he says this, and then that's that, right? So they are still in the old mode of Tesla. They're in the 2020 mode of Tesla. What does Tesla currently produce? We can count that. We have certain numbers. We make up the rest of the numbers. We have a prediction during the quarter, and at the end of the quarter we align suddenly with everybody else, because then it looks as if we knew it all the time. So that's just the old model. It will be very quickly outdated because it doesn't comprise energy, it doesn't comprise the bots. I just think, Herbert, that the valuation for bot companies, Tesla included, will at the moment still be in this 2 to 10 billion range. I mean, for Figure, it'd be great to get to 10 billion. That's a 5x. But for Tesla, 10 billion doesn't move the needle. That's a 1.5%. So it just, for Tesla, we have to be a bit patient until that bot production and rollout has clear numbers where we see tens of thousands of bots, and where numbers come with it, what's going to be the price selling them, or how are they replacing current workers that have a certain price in the workforce, and then it will become much more evident what they're worth.
I'm sorry, guys, but I want to address exactly what you just said, which is, okay, I get that, right? It's a startup. So it's a probability thing. It's too early. This is what other startups are worth. But tell me if you guys agree that, well, the difference between this particular startup, right, the humanoid bot opportunity, is it happens to be the largest industry that is going to displace, like by far, right?
I agree, but they gave it a 2 billion valuation. They didn't give it a 200 billion valuation.
Right. No, I get that. I totally understand. But it's all about probabilities, and you're making the bet. And what you're doing is you're taking a look at the product and whether or not there are, the risk factors of whether or not it can actually become a useful product, right? Being a useful work, being able to displace an actual worker, maybe not displace an worker, but actually, be in service of, as if you were a human to do a service. If that is, as you go along each month and you tick them off, right? Can it walk as fast? Can it move as fast? Can it actually think as well? Can you train it? How costly is it to create this bot? Is there a need and demand for us? As these things are ticked off, this is the largest industry in the world. You know what I mean?
I get
so
that.
It's not like, yeah. So you have to it's not going to be treated like any other startup, because the prize at the end is going to be so big that you better start to value
and that is the hope, and the what these 675 million of these 10 companies and more have invested in, because they think this is gonna 100x, right? This is gonna go very far, which it very well may. I mean, I'm less convinced on Figure as a company than on Tesla, but it may very well be. The thing is, these 675 million from them, for each of them is pocket change. They didn't even see that money go out, right? They all have this money for stamps in the post office. That's about the level this was for them. So the fact that the market valued this at 2 billion today shows you, and this is a company that is only focused on bots. And I mean, got to give it to the guy. He did quite good marketing for it, including on your channel. So he was able to pull this money in, and he was right to do it. But the overall market doesn't give this a higher valuation for the moment. And when you see that, you understand that they don't give it to Tesla either. That's just it.
And I agree, but I agree with what Herbert's saying, and I agree exactly with Alexandra. You stole the words out of my mouth. But what I would say is, give Tesla a 10 billion valuation on it, right? Because it's Tesla. It's still a drop in the bucket on the valuation. And who's to say it's not in Tesla's valuation? Like, it's not all cars. To me, some of the valuation is some of these other things. Maybe they're small, but you could say, well, maybe 10 billion is in the market cap of Tesla right now on that promise of a humanoid. I've always said that, like, just to say, well, the market's not pricing it because I want the stock price higher. That's not how it works. Like, Tesla has a huge market cap and they have a lot of businesses. So there might be 5 billion or 20 billion of these things in there. And then they will grow as, yes, it gets closer and we see production and we see it do useful things. That 10 billion of market cap, if you see Tesla stock price rising, that's probably going to 20 or 40 or 50 billion of market cap, because now robots are actually starting to be produced and they're becoming useful, and then that expands. So I think it's already in there. So I agree with both of you, but I think for this year business, I don't think you could really say humanoid's going to be the driver, because there is no business yet of humanoid. They're still working on it, and I don't think we're going to have a production robot for at least 12 to 24 months actually doing useful things that you could actually value to me. But
Okay,
Yeah.
I can take off my bingo card. I agree with Christian for this year. This is done for once.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say
that
about
one.
these humanoid companies is it's not for certain how many, just because they can do a 30-second video, how many actually get off the starting line and can produce hardware at yield. Remember, some of these things could vary widely. Everybody thought a year or two ago that everybody was doing robotaxis in China and the US, and Tesla, when are they going to do? When are they going to figure it out? And all of a sudden people realize that there's somebody behind the curtain that's intervening, and for each drive, and then they find out the real cost per mile is they're losing billions of dollars in doing this. So one of the things you have to really study about all of these bot situations is the business model and how they're approaching it. And if you fast forward a couple of years from now and you look at what Tesla's doing by building the network infrastructure, by building the silicon for the network infrastructure, by doing the software for the network infrastructure, by doing the inference chip and the robot, and by actually being able to assemble and test and fabricate components of those sizes and do them at very high yields, there is nobody else actually checking those boxes. And any one of those boxes could completely destroy the business case of doing a bot. But I know we're getting a little bit off track, but I do appreciate the approach that Tesla is taking. And from what I'm seeing, that they have the most serious approach for actually scaling the bot. But I need to look at and study some of the other companies as well.
And a use case, and the only one that has a use case.
No, that's not true.
Multiple.
But this is not about. I'm here talking. I'm talking about Tesla is going to be a massive leader. And if you look at these analogies of other companies that are in the space, and this is not the only one, right? This is AI boom. But this is AI boom 10x, even 1,000x, because this is humanoid, which is many believe now the format that's going to get to AGI, right? It's embodied AI is so much more powerful than it is just regular AI in a computer, right? That to be able to take action, and that's what Elon's been talking about all along. So these kinds of events that happen from other outside parties, that's what I'm saying. Why is not Tesla going to get the value? So your analysis of the valuation of Tesla today, totally agree with you guys. It's worth $2 billion. Maybe give it a bump up, like a Christian is generous enough to say $5-10 billion. But my point being that it's only February. So 8 months is it's a lifetime in the AI progression. And so then,
it's 10 months, Herbert. It's 10 months.
It's 10.
Oh, see, I'm out of it today, guys. So I'm sorry.
Don't cut it.
Herbert, I want to back you up a little bit in perhaps you mean it this way, that previously in the run up to 400, Tesla was given a valuation based on a promise of robotaxi or FSD, which is what Jeff brought up. So it is. Is that what you're trying to say? That Tesla, once the market sees where Tesla is going, they don't have questions regarding scalability, making sure that it's not a Terminator.
Market is forward looking, and then you're going, well, it's not here yet. It's not here. Scott Walter has a great sentence. He says, "Those who think it's too soon will soon find out it's too late." So it's very slow, and then all of a sudden, boom, it's here. And if you're not anticipating that humanoid bots is a real deal of the largest market industry ever that dwarfs everything else, even AI, and then not we, but some people miss the AI boom, and here you're going, it's too early. It's too early. I'm not going to give any valuation at all. Okay, that's a difference between different investors.
Yeah, and I had a quick follow up for Alexandra, and that's a great point, Herbert. So you asked a question, Herbert, regarding why they're not modeling it or why they're not putting it in their notes, except maybe a couple of analysts. Alexandra, is it possible that because they haven't grown their positions yet, and they're not in the stock, Is that a possible reason why it's kind of like, hey, don't bring too much attention
No,
to that?
I think they're too lazy. I'm sorry to say so. I think a Wall Street analyst at the moment is in the phase, Nvidia is sunshine, wonderful, everything is good, and three other stocks. I mean, the three stocks that really moved the S&P this year are Nvidia, Meta, and Eli. We're going to talk about weight loss later. Exactly. But it's Celsius as well. But the S&P 500, these three moved the S&P 500 by 25%. So 3 stocks out of 500. So I don't think that, there are people that are going deep down into Tesla, but there are probably 10 of them. I don't think Dan Ives is going deep down into Tesla analysis, to really granularly have different scenarios. Nor is Gary. And so, and those are the people we hear the most of. So all the others we don't hear a lot. I particularly love Adam Jones, but that's
Jonas goes down there. Jonas goes down 5 rabbit holes.
He does, but he really does, and I love it because he goes into rabbit holes that I didn't even see yet, and he goes on and on about it. I love it, but there are so few of them. So I don't, thinking about bots is very far for them, and even the figure bots and all that, they're just getting used to this and thinking this through. What a change this is going to be for society, because this is huge, right? As long as you just think, fair enough, they're going to be in the factories, it doesn't make much difference to these people. But if you think it through that this will do senior care, why are you laughing, Xander?
Look at the private chat. I should add though, that just this weekend, Scott, Walter, myself, Søren Basher, and Dr. John Gibbs, we were invited by an institutional investment firm to give them a 101 on Tesla bot. They're interested. They've already invested. They want to invest more, and they're diving deeper into this space. So, yes, you're right.
Ooh.
Not many institutional investors might miss this, but this conversation is starting to happen. Just you're aware.
Yeah. So and that's my question.
Okay. I just going to put another little spin on it. Like, we are at 5.5% Fed funds, which is probably going lower. But it's not like there's free money. Like, excitement is a little bit reined in, so you're not going to get credit for, all these things that you were if you had cheap money sloshing around. Some of it's got to get a little bit more proven out. So I think that's some of the market dynamics with it too.
Great point.
So what happens when the rates come down and now you have these product demos from the Roadster to the bot, and then you can actually see worker replacement, and maybe they release some numbers, right?
Yeah.
So this is where it is.
That's what a bull market is. We're just in the beginnings of a bull market. Some people are still not sure. So to me, it's not really an exuberant bull market. It's a bull market that a lot of people don't believe in, which means it could keep going. There's a lot of naysayers. I was watching TV today, and there's still a lot of people saying it's overvalued. But then there's great pushback. Well, valuations of, Nvidia is cheaper than it was it's done all this, and it's at the same forward multiple it was like 2-3 years ago. So it's the same valuation. It's just gone up like what, 6-7x? Like, it's not any more expensive. Now, if you don't believe that earnings are going to come, they're not going to grow 20-30% in the future, then yeah, it's overvalued. But if you believe that the AI revolution is real, and I think we do, and we're going to have to build out the entire, world of supercomputers and transfer to GPUs, then Nvidia price is justified, and it's probably fairly valued here. So I don't know. I don't
Did you
see
see
any
that, Herbert?
bubble market. Yeah.
What's that?
He'd made your market transition in one go. You didn't even.
That's what I was going to do. I was going to say, keep going, Christian, because you tell us what's happened with the Nasdaq hitting all-time high.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Great conversation, guys. I mean, it hit a closing all-time high on the Nasdaq. So it's the first time we've had it on the S&P. But this is the actual Nasdaq composite, not even the QQQ, the actual Nasdaq composite that has a lot of some smaller companies in it. So that's a big moment, right? Like, the bull market's here. So you could keep saying it's not even 20% from the lows, which is considered the bull market. Now we're at all-time highs. We've busted through every index.
So the Nasdaq's at an all-time high. Mm-hmm. The S&P's at an all-time high. And Tesla's half of its all-time high.
Oh, yeah.
I know.
So is everybody stupid, Christian?
I think, to be fair, Jeff, look, and I've talked about this for many months, Tesla earnings have not
Zoom in
come
on
through. A lot of the other companies have grown earnings. NVIDIA's earnings is going incredible, right? So Tesla, when you want to say Tesla's undervalued, and it may be in the long term because of bots and FSD comes through, but in the short to medium term, Tesla still trades at a 70 forward on this year's earnings. So when you say that, and you say, well, Tesla's being disrespected, I think it's justified because NVIDIA, who's growing earnings like crazy and is probably going to put up another monster this year, is only trading at like 32 forward earnings. And Tesla's at 70 forward earnings. So to say that Tesla is not getting a lot of love from the market, I think is actually wrong. I think, yes, it's nowhere near the all-time highs because when Tesla ran that 20X from 2019, that was just incredible. That got so out there, right? And when some of these other things, like Xander said, FSD didn't really materialize and it's kind of been flatlined for a little bit and now it's re-accelerating, the market re-rated it back down to say, okay, this stuff might happen, but they're having some issues. We're not so sure. So I think the market has Tesla fairly priced here. I don't think it's undervalued and I don't think it's super overvalued, but I think the market is still giving Tesla a lot of credit for future earnings that haven't materialized yet. So that's just my opinion. So I don't know. You guys could agree with me or disagree with me, but
Yeah, I'm just trying to tee up the conversation. It's different. I mean, in 2020 wasn't the multiple many hundreds, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
200 something.
Yeah, and then so when you look at growth stocks, you have to look at, the multiple, you have to look at the growth. And I think from a Tesla perspective, they didn't jump on the earnings call in January and project growth for this year. They didn't say anything. And then you look at the you look at the EPS and you look at the prior quarter, you look at the next quarter, and that's probably why I'm setting up the question a bit, but that's kind of, partly why we're in the position we are now, maybe versus the position we were in more of the euphoric 2021. But, like I said, the markets are back and racing all-time highs. So hopefully, I'd love to see a couple of things change. Again, don't file this in the I know better than Tesla because I don't. But as an investor, I'd love to hear them, as Alexander said, talk about when they do the P&D print, right? When they talk about auto shipments, how about let's start talking about energy in that conversation. Also, could they start talking about awareness of EV and awareness of their products and start measuring that? I think that would be a quantifiable thing. Like, can we actually improve awareness of the great products that Tesla does at the lowest prices? And I had a third one, but I think there's a couple of things that Tesla could start measuring and reporting out, and I think that would be quite useful. Again, I think they're doing amazing things. I think they've got these businesses set up in the background. They're not all going to be home runs, but all it takes is really for one of them to really come through. But I do think, if you look at this year and you look at next year, like, well, why is Tesla half the price it was when the markets were at this point last time? You have to answer the question of, it's not everybody that analyzes Tesla doesn't know what they're doing. It's more of they have a time horizon of 9 months, 12 months, 15 months. And then if you go out further is when you start bringing in some of these big bets.
And one reason it also is because analysts now use the reduced margins for their whole extrapolation for the next 5, 7, 10 years, right? That's just the way they function. They have what they have in reality. They may be able to give it a little bit of wiggle room and up we go. They have no conception of how quickly this can turn and how quickly software as a service can be added and how quickly the energy is going to be up to 25% and playing a role of being at least a quarter of the revenues. So all these accelerating factors that actually all lining up now, they don't have them in their spreadsheet. They have their dire old spreadsheet and they had to put the prices down, and then 2030 got down, and then 2027 got down because you discounted it down, and then you discount it down to 2025 and it's even worse, and then it's catastrophe, and then you complain from morning to night. So I don't want to continue trashing everybody here. It seems to be my day, but it is clear that the way they are doing their discounted cash flow models is that one event from 2023 clear-rosing their whole grid, right? The whole way they're doing this up. So just wait for this whole thing to break out, and then that's that.
And it's clearly wrong too. But I mean, Model 3 proved that Tesla, designed a better product and was able to position it at a higher price point. And Model 3 proves that. So if you were to go in your spreadsheet and say every time they took the Model 3 price down and changed it out in perpetuity, you'd be wrong. And they're going to be wrong on the other ones as well. You're absolutely right. The ability to forecast COGS and kind of general movement in these major industries at Tesla, they just don't have that capability. But if you look at every single industry that Tesla has entered, they have come into it at some point or maintain the dominant position in gross margins, whether it's auto EV, whether it's stationary energy, whether it's supercharging installations. Really, every hardware business that they enter in and they compete in, they have industry-leading gross margins. So if you're an analyst and you're thinking about, well, how should I think about this company? Well, this thing about COGS and cost structures at their core, and they've proven it in everything that they've entered. So I certainly wouldn't count them out in EV. They're far ahead. We did a show on this earlier this week, Herbert. They're far and ahead of anybody. Now, did it go from $10,000 to $15,000 of gross profit a car to 7 or 8? Yeah, but they can easily move that number back up, and then that number changes dramatically when, as Alexandra said, the software as a services start entering in. But you don't even need to have that to see Tesla just continue to maintain that lead in auto gross margins for EVs.
Okay, so I want to ask this question to the panel because if I remember correctly, when I asked you guys this question before, isn't it true that all 4 out of 5 of us believe that 2026 is going to be a breakout year for Tesla stock? It's going to have a huge jump by then because everything is going to fall in place by that year. I know you're heading, Jeff. Am I wrong with Jeff and Xander? But we know where Christian sits, so let's ask Christian where he sits. But Xander, do you guys agree, Jeff and Xander?
I don't know what the stock's going to do 2 years from now. I mean,
no, not
anything
the stock,
could
but you're
shit the
saying
bed between now and then.
It's not
the company
stock.
will be up and running. Everything
By
will be up and running.
2026, every division that we're talking about is going to be significant to the point that
is true. Business-wise, those things are going to be up and rocking for sure.
I could answer it for you in this way.
Okay.
You're right. In 2026, that gives it more time for a lot of these other things to be closer to reality. So in sense, you could see it better. Investors can, it's more tangible to them. So I agree with you. As time goes on, it only gets better for Tesla. I think the short term is the most challenge for Tesla because basically a lot of these things are out in the distance, and what you can see and touch is a little bit challenged for growth. It's just realistic, right? It's just reality. So I think you're right, Herbert. As years go by, and it front runs a little bit, but as 1 year goes by, 25, 26, you're getting into this. Yes, we probably have a humanoid robot, and everybody's like talking about it, and it's on, every internet show and YouTube channel and CNBC, and FSD's probably gotten even better. So I don't know if it's a robo taxi, but wow, that's really good. It could be useful in certain things, so that's getting excitement. So I understand your point exactly. So that just comes closer to reality, and every time something comes a little closer to reality, it gets valued a little bit higher.
Yeah, I was going to ask a question of you guys. Like, we mentioned guidance, and is this like the moment when Elon went to retail shareholders instead of analysts? Like, it's not normal to not guide. Is that correct?
No, some companies don't guide. Like Google doesn't guide.
Amazon
Celsius
didn't guide for a long time. Amazon didn't
Celsius
guide.
doesn't guide. NVIDIA guides 1 quarter out. It's really
Apple stopped guiding
guide for the whole year. Yeah, so it just depends on the company. I think Tesla started guiding, right? And then this year they just stopped. Who knows why? Maybe because the guy wasn't going to be that great of a guide, or maybe they didn't want to play the game anymore.
It's the transition
It's
the transition from not guiding. So sorry, from guiding to not guiding. That's the problem.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Right. And it throws Wall Street off. It gets questioned. Why aren't they guiding? Can they not?
Right.
Grow?
Is there a problem?
2 million. Yeah.
By the way, Rivian didn't guide. Rivian didn't guide deliveries. They guided production. and they guided flat production. So
And Lucid,
look
but
what,
not at all.
yeah.
I mean, not that it would matter.
And I also
And then-
think the type of company it is, like when you're a big blue chip and you've always guided and then you stop, that's different from some little rinky dink company, guide and not guide. Like, who cares what Lucid does? I mean, is that really going to matter? Like, oh, they didn't guide. Yeah, I mean, maybe the stock goes down, but Lucid is such a small market cap. It doesn't affect the market. When you got a company like Tesla or Apple and they do something out of the ordinary, and that could disrupt, not just them, it could also affect the indexes. So I think more mature companies and companies that have bigger market caps are held to higher standards. That's just my opinion.
And then one more question. I feel like we're obviously in a very focused, group, but even the whole country sees Waymo on the roads. They see quote robo taxis. Are we more comfortable? Well, I understand certain markets, Christian.
Yeah, I haven't seen one. I don't think most 99.9% have seen a Waymo or a robotaxi in America.
Sure, but here's the question. So some people have seen it. Are we more comfortable with robotaxis than we are with humanoid bots in our houses or businesses, or is it going to be exclusively to factories?
I think Americans are comfortable with either of them, but it's just in my opinion, I think a normal person would be more comfortable. Just if they didn't know if the robotaxi was perfect, they would say, "Oh, I would love to have a robot assistant," more than, "Oh, this car is going to drive me and no one's going to be driving." I just think psychologically they probably would easier having the robot, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, it's surprising that the third largest use case for humanoid robots right now is actually elder care. And so it's going to be something that it's going to be received by the public because there's a demand and need for it.
Yeah, but nobody wants to see some of the elderly people. Anyway, I think there's a concern about having a robot probably walking around your home with eyes and the ability to upload data.
Yeah.
So I think there'll be an issue overcoming that.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, the use cases I talk about in the business case has nothing to do with the retail at this point. It's all just factories and other, kind of businesses. All right, let's talk hot stocks. Other than Tesla, what are the other stocks that you guys are investing in or you're interested in or following?
Go ahead, Jeff. So Nvidia.
Tell us about Celsius. Yeah.
You said go ahead and then you start talking.
Yeah.
You talk for me?
You just did this. I'm like, maybe it's like a
Get him, Jeff. Get him.
No, Celsius. I started a couple of years ago investing, trading. It's a good company, heavily shorted, but massively growing revenues, massively even doubling revenues and doubling more than and doubling earnings. And they've got 47% gross margins, massive investment from Pepsi to increase distribution. Like everything's played out. They reported this morning, I think they're up 20% today. They're at an all-time high. It's breaking out. The stock split within the last year as well. So that's one. We talked a lot about NVIDIA last week and the earnings they put up and the guide. And really just even since then, and I told this to people too, like, why didn't I dump NVIDIA going into earnings, for example? Well, one of the reasons is all the hyperscalers prior to the NVIDIA call said, I'm buying a lot of this stuff and I need more and I don't have enough. And sure enough, the calls I'm hearing today from HP, Dell, and others are like, we need more of this stuff and we don't have as much as we need. So I think they've got a nice runway in front of them. It's not impervious, but yeah, those are the two I would say I've got a pretty close eye on. There's others in stationary storage I've talked about, that I think could break out over time. So those are the couple I'm looking at.
What's a hyperscaler?
The Googles, Metas, that they need data centers. Google, Meta,
Right.
Apple hasn't. Don't Apple want to put $5 billion in 2024? Who are they going to get? Probably Nvidia, right? AMD.
Well,
need them,
I think the surprise with Apple maybe is their own silicon has inference capability, and who knows if they're working on their own data center chip. Apple has incredible silicon assets.
Yeah, my understanding is Apple bought like 20 startups or something in the AI space, and they're like the biggest one, it has
Yeah.
acquired the
But you
most.
don't want to be messing around with that. Google should have bought more from NVIDIA, trying to do their own stuff. It ain't so easy. If you got the answer and NVIDIA's got a great solution, you should go
Yeah.
buy NVIDIA. Why are you messing around yourself? You know, Apple might be,
Let's
you know,
trash
with their little
Google.
Apple
Let's go
Car.
there.
Apple Car took a decade and it did nothing.
See you
So,
later.
you know, they should buy a NVIDIA product if they want to be successful.
Stay here, Jeff. We got to talk about my weight loss drugs now, because you asked for other stock. Monday in our group chat, I told you that I was looking very closely at Viking Therapeutics. Viking is the third player in the weight loss area. So we had initially Novo Nordisk, which is the Danish company. They are producing Ozempic and Wegovy, same drugs, just two different names. Then the second player in that game was Lilly. Both of those companies are now in the top 12 mega caps in the world. Lilly is more valuated than Tesla. Novo just below Tesla. And the third player is Viking. And Viking had one of their tests in trial. The difference is Ozempic has one active ingredient. The Lilly products, which are Monjaro and Zepbound, have two, and this Viking has three. So Viking's result came out on Wednesday, and the stock doubled, went from, I think it was 45 to now 90 or even more. So that was one stock. I didn't get in on time, but I'm watching very closely. There's a fourth company that is also currently in trial. I'm going to get into that in a couple of weeks because I'm looking at them. So I'm still deciding on which of those I'm going to invest. I'm not taking any money out of Tesla, but new money I'm going to affect to one of those, one or two of those.
We forgot to mention Chipotle. All-time highs up again today. What's it, like 2,700
You
a
eat
share?
and I lose the weight.
One of those rocket stocks. The meme stock.
Yeah, speaking of meme stocks, I've been just watching this Bitcoin space, and it's going crazy. And I'm trying to understand, like, what does money look like in 30 years? And does X launch into that world, and we change how we spend money or move money? So I know Bitcoin miners are something that you can speak on, Jeff. Could you share a little bit on the thinking behind those types of companies?
No, I'm not an expert. Just I've not bought, to my chagrin, I've not bought Bitcoin. I don't know what makes it go up or down. And I'm trying to understand that better. But in terms,
supply and demand.
sure,
We'll
exactly.
have,
Being the last man on the boat.
We'll have James from Invest Answers join us for Cyberbulls next week. He is very closely following Bitcoin and Bitcoin miners. We'll ask him. Yeah. So for me, I am investing. I'm all in on humanoids and other bot companies. As you guys know, that obviously I think Tesla is a clear leader, and just so many reasons why Tesla's valuation is going to skyrocket, not because of everything else we just talked about, energy and FSD. I think it's going to be the bots that's going to really just change the game even more. I do think that Tesla is a robotics AI company, and you can see it every single day. So I've started investing in other bot companies as well. And as some of you might know, that I launched a company with Scott Walter, John Gibbs, and Søren Basher. It's called Human Bots, and we're a consulting company helping businesses come up with business cases, not just for humanoid bots, but also human scale bots. So anything that is helping a business think security, even lawnmowers, even bathroom cleaners and waiters. This is an explosion of intelligent bots. Everything we've been watching for the last 5-10 years, they look great, but we know that they're not smart enough. Even the Roomba kind of doesn't even know what it's doing. The promise of these things were just falling flat. You can't get stuck with that of what you think a bot is today. It is changing fast. They're now becoming very intelligent. And Tesla has vision AI, the ability to do real world AI. What does that mean is that any camera can now take action. And just think about that. There's anything with a camera is now going to be intelligent, and you can talk to it. It can talk to you back if you want to, and you can ask it to do things, and it knows the actual activity that's happening and very intelligent. This is massive change. And like I was saying earlier, bigger than just an AI boom, which is massive. This is going to be the bigger one. So I'm all in on that. That's the thing that
is
I
that
think
an
is a big
announcement?
deal. What's the
All in
what's the
on
announcement?
bots?
He's
All in on bots? What are you not all
He
in
lives,
on then?
breathes, and sleeps bots. He's passionate about.
Well,
it.
wait
I
a
love it.
minute. Wait a minute. The last all in update was Tesla.
Well, he's Tesla.
No, so
and,
well, yeah. When I say all in, let's be very clear. People always misinterpret what all in means.
Or
In my mind,
Christian starts singing.
yeah.
I'm
What I think
going
all in,
in.
what I think it means for me is that obviously you own a home. You obviously got to take care of your have to have cash just in case there's a market crash and a recession. But when you invest and you have money investing for stocks, when I said I was all in on Tesla, I wasn't, right? Because I have a tremendous amount of money that I had in my RRSPs in Canada that I cannot take out. And that's invested in Apple, it's invested in Amazon. And so great companies. I'm very lucky that I have that. But in this case, I'm investing significant amounts into robotic companies. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not selling my Tesla. I didn't sell Tesla to do this. So that's what I just mean. But humanoid bots, I think of Tesla as a humanoid company now. I don't know if it's apparently when we had this discussion earlier, you guys still don't think of it as it is. And I'm like, it is a humanoid company, dude.
It's coming, but it's just the humanoid part doesn't generate any revenue yet. So it's like a startup.
When it generates revenue, it will dwarf all this revenue we're talking about.
But if you value it today,
all of this will be 1%.
Tesla with like a 10 billion market cap. You don't want that. You want to keep your value where it is. And right now, the value is being based mainly on these other things. So you need to still keep growing them to get to the humanoid part.
Christian's saying buy Chipotle right now. Grow it in Chipotle, and then you'll have money for humanoids.
No, there's nothing wrong with investing in these companies.
3-year, a 5-year,
you're going to
a
make
1
money.
year, a 10-year
Exactly.
on Chipotle. Boom.
Exactly. Double, triple
your
it
investments,
first.
your investment are venture capitalist tranches, right? These are not.
Yeah.
Other
it's
than Tesla.
Public. The only way to play the public game the only way to play the humanoid game today is through Tesla. It's the only public company. So most people, that's it. Great. Let's I want to hear more about your weight loss journey. Let's talk about weight loss. Alexandra, tell us more about why you got so interested in these these
Sure, with pleasure. And I'll try to make this short. So I took on a lot of weight when we moved to the United States. I mean, different food than in Europe, also sitting much more than in Europe. In Europe, I had a job where I was lots of times walking around. So all that led, and I mean, getting older, 57, right? So, and I've struggled taking it off. I did keto. I lost lots of it, put it back on. The second that, you do any change into your very strict diet, it came back all the time. So this year I promised myself I really look after my health. I had a thyroid issue, saw a couple of doctors. They told me, oh, well, maybe if you lose weight, it could resolve by itself. Fair enough. So I found finally the doctor I needed, and she explained to me that the easiest way of tackling this weight loss would now be with a GLP-1 enhanced medication, which will be an appetite suppressant. Now, you all know me. I mean, I'm analyzing so much before I do anything. I was completely stoked not to do this. I'm never taking any drugs, not even vitamins or anything. So this was a far, far stretch for me. Did a lot of research on the different groups. Like I said earlier, Ozempic, the early one, now the Mounjaro, Zepbound, second generation, and the third generation to come. And finally decided that I would give it a try. So I've been now for 25 days on Zepbound, which is the weight loss from Eli Lilly. The Mounjaro one is for the diabetics. This has been life-changing, a true miracle. I'm not hungry. It acts on the stomach, the liver, the pancreas, but also on the receptors of the brain. Complete appetite suppressant. I force myself to have 1,300, 1,400 calories by day with a high protein intake. I have a sports coach, a fitness coach who helps me with the exercise part and making sure I have enough protein to build up the muscle. But it's just been a complete game changer in attitude. I've lost 20 pounds, and in the joy of doing it, because it just becomes so easy. It's not that I didn't have the willpower. I'm quite a strong lady, and what I want to do, I get there. But this now suddenly is so well assisted that it becomes doable. You actually see it, that it's doable. Now the question, obviously, with this medicine is always side effects. It's how long do you want to stay on it and all that. And there's so much to be discussed. And what I also discovered is there are private Facebook groups of 150,000 people discussing this. They're all on the drug. They're all exchanging. Actually, quite nice to see. I don't like Facebook at all, but for this purpose, Facebook has done something that X should have been doing for a long time. So I've been watching this whole scene for the last 3 months, got immersed in it, and decided there's one thing missing: the thing that Herbert is doing for Tesla, meaning podcasts, something where people can interact, not just everybody telling their own story, but where people can interact visually or spaces on X. So I've set up a new, it's not a company yet, we're going to put it under a company, but a new brand, which is called the Lighter Revolution, because we're all getting lighter. It's going to be podcasts on this subject. I mean, I know that lots of our listeners here are not interested by weight loss, but if they are, I'm going to have doctors on, I'm going to have nutritionists on, I'm going to have fitness trainers on, and I'm going to have a lot of people that either went through it, were happy under it, were not happy under it, expressing and telling these things. So I'm going to spend quite some time on that. Not that I had the time, but I feel it's necessary to educate. And I also want to have a part of it that is dedicated to the investment in these companies, because I do believe these companies are going to be billion-dollar companies and trillion-dollar companies for the years to come. Because in America, in Europe, but actually worldwide, there are so many obese people that need to lose weight, and they're making such great progress. So that's it. The Lighter Revolution.
Love it.
So when we're flying around in our Wall-E chairs and all the bots are
helping
us do everything, it's going to be brighter and lighter with
and fighter
and the fighter.
Exactly.
So
and Xander, congratulations to you, because you're doing all this without assistance of any drugs. Well done, you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm as they say, natty, which means natural. I also kind of hit a number, 182.6 pounds, and I'm usually at like 160s. We got to go. So I'll keep it short. I did pin a post. I took down my semi-order, which I haven't done, and pinned this to my profile if you want to read about it. But I just made a decision. That's all it took, was just one decision that I needed to do something, and I recruited my options buddies in our Signal group. One of the guys is going through a breakup, and he was not feeling well, and so it's been amazing. With the Apple Watch, we keep each other accountable. And I've lost 14 pounds in less than 2 months, but it's just with intermittent fasting. I don't eat. I kind of open a window for 8 hours of where I can eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner if I want, and then shut it down. No snacking, just water. I don't. I drink coffee, which in the morning, with like just 1 cup, and that really helps the appetite. And then every time I'm a little hungry and that hunger pang starts, I just drink some water. So that's been really, really helpful. I'd love to see people that obviously are really far down the health journey. You like having an assistance like that from a drug is so it's important, because ultimately you want to conquer the health, even if there's some sort of side effect. I worked in a gym for 6 years, so for me, it's I have a lot of the knowledge and background to do it naturally. But if you don't, obviously I would say start with the natural way. But if you can't do it, the most important thing is your health.
Completely agree.
Congratulations to you both. That is amazing, Alexandra. This is wonderful to hear that you're going to do this podcast. Like you said, it's going to help so many people. This is revolutionary, as you called your name, right? I think it should be lighter with Alexandra, but okay, lighter revolution, fine,
Fighter
go with
with
that.
Christian.
Fighter with Christian, lighter with Alexandra. But congratulations on that. I'm looking forward to this. I think that it's changing people's lives, like big time, right? This is such a amazing, thing that
And
finally
that's what I
is
want to help.
available.
I really think I have
a
to give
solution.
back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So when are you going to start this? It's both a YouTube channel.
So,
it's going to be an X.
Yes. So the YouTube channel is set up. We're just working on the logo. I think we'll be ready in about 2-3 days. We've got the X account now. It's called Limited Revolution because you can only have 15 characters. So I'm going to publish what it is, but it's completely separate from Tesla Boomer Mama. And Tesla Boomer Mama obviously stay on the Tesla stuff. And then I'm currently sending surveys to these 150,000 people that are in these Facebook groups saying who wants to come up and participate. And I'm overwhelmed how, when people finally have a solution for a problem they had for a long time, especially if it's their health, how outspoken they are. I mean, in those private groups, they share pictures that I prefer I would have never seen, but that's just the way it is, how the before and after pictures and all that. But you have to give it to these people. They are so motivated by what they finally accomplished. This is really beautiful to see. It really is. And I think it should be shared in a much,
Alexandra?
There are 60 more to go.
For you.
60 more to go. Oh, for me, 60 more to go. Yeah, 60 pounds more. And the goal for the goal for this channel is I want to be as big as Herbert's.
That's not big enough for you. You're gonna
We'll see. I start from zero.
Wow, you guys are amazing.
Well, we're learning from you. This is your blueprint.
This happened because of Xander and Christian. This is how it started.
Yeah,
the three of us.
Alexandra, so you're the drug, but how important is diet and exercise for?
Oh, completely. There are people who are just continuing to eat like they did before. The drug is not going to do anything. It's not. The thing is, the drug does you appetite suppression, and that's your window to finally apply strictly what you want to do because you're not suffering doing that. So what I'm doing, like you, I'm doing intermittent fasting. My window is 6 hours, having a late breakfast where 9 o'clock, depends on my client calls, but usually around 9 o'clock, and I'm having a late lunch, early dinner around 2 o'clock. So I just had it before our recording, and that's it until tomorrow morning. And I walk at least 5,000, if possible, 7,000 steps a day, and I do twice a week some gymnastics that I got from my coach. So that's at the moment it. I mean, for me, starting, moving that much is already a lot. But if you don't do any of that, you will not lose weight. You're not losing weight on that drug if you don't adapt also your whole diet, your food intake, and move, because that's just not how it's going to work. It just makes it so much easier because you don't have this constant appetite, sugar cravings, insulin going up and down. I mean, there's so many other things that it has about 50 functions in your body, and not all are cute to talk about. I mean, your digestion is a whole subject you don't want to talk about here, but I'm going to talk on the other channel.
And real quick, how much stretching are you doing before you start exercise?
Oh, I need to do a lot of stretching because I'm so stiff. You have no idea. You only see.
That's what I found.
I mean, some people. Yeah, I'm so old and stiff. I'm like, oh my God, yes, I am 57. There you go. I'll get there.
Yeah.
And the lighter you get, the easier it gets.
Yes, really, really important. I realized that, and I was coming from a fit frame because I haven't done regular exercise in 15 years. Immediately, my shoulders, all my joints, my hips were hurting, and when I went down and the knees, the back, everything. So I just started stretching a lot more, and it's really, really helped. So like a half an hour of stretching before you do exercise, that's the good way to do it. Not like 2 or 3
I have to do it every morning now to really be informed when I get up. So anyway, I'll talk a lot of health, and I'll bring a lot of people on that will talk about health on the Lighter Revolution. You're going to hear about it a little bit, but I make sure that my Tesla stuff stays here.
All right. Okay. So there's Brighter with Herbert. You got Lighter with Alexandra. You got Fighter with Christian. You got Mightier
us?
with Jeff, Mr. Incredible. Mightier with Jeff. He's Mr. Incredible. I don't know about you. I got to come up with you. Biter. Wiser.
All right.
Wise.
Trader?
Start ripping on
Wiser,
each
I like
other. I can come up with some nicknames on the fly too.
We sound like Dan O'Dowd with all his dandies and handies and shandies.
People call you, Jeff, Mr. Incredible. I love it. You
Yeah,
are
they
Mr. Incredible. Thank you so much. All right, everybody. Thank you. That was a fun episode. Appreciate everybody. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.